Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third day of the Permit CLI launch week. I hope that you can hear me today. Yesterday, we had some trouble with the audio when we started. So I'm doing a quick audio chat. If everyone can join from YouTube and can send a message in this chat if you can hear me. Um, Great. I heard that it looks good, so I'll continue this way. And again, if you're watching us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever you're watching us, when you comment, we can see anything you're commenting. And I'm really excited to be here today, as every day of the launch week. I'll do a little admission when we start about the keyboard of the Raffle. If you want to win the Raffle, if you want to win a keyboard, super cool, permit customized mechanical keyboard, then what you have to do is actually go to the permit CLI page on GitHub. I'll open the page so you can all see that and give it a star. So all the CLI code is on GitHub, and just by giving it a star, by the end of the live stream, we'll take all the new stargazers and make sure that we can and we'll do a raffle between all the people that actually. Hey, Ayush, good to see you here today too. Uh, I hope the audio works well, as I said. So if you can confirm that, that would be awesome. And so that about the raffle. And again, really exciting to have you here. And with that, I'll start with our third day of the launch week. Today, we are going to talk about zero effort policy testing. One of the things that we are getting asked the most in permit is how to test the authorization, how to test permit, how to test permissions that we are using in permit. And this is a very important question. Software without testing is not a good software. We all prefer software that is actually work and we can actually do a test to it. And one of the most comfortable way to actually run tests is do it with the automated way in your CI, in your whatever you're running your automation, you probably want to run your test too. And this is what we are actually going to show you today, how to utilize the CLI to create all the types of the tests for the authorization and permission that you actually doing in permit. And with that, I will start with talking about what is unit test, what is end-to-end, and what is integration test. I'll do it fast. You probably know unit test is the level of software where we are actually checking if the single unit of code logic is works well. And soon we'll talk about unit test in the context of permit. End-to-end test is where we are testing that all the tests in our system, that all the edge case of our system is working well end-to-end on top of the unit pieces of code or unit pieces of configuration. And then we have integration test. We are testing that our components, that our software is integrated well with other environment. Hey Jay, good to see you here. I know you work a lot on the end-to-end test that we are going to demonstrate today. So first, thank you for your contribution. I'll remind you that the Permit CLI is open for contribution, is an open source software, and you all can create more features to that. And with that, let's talk about what we can test when we are using Permit. So today I'm going to open an environment of one of our application demo. If you're following Permit, you probably saw at some point our banking demo, the Mesa Verde demo. The Mesa Verde demo is a simple application that's showing all the edge cases and use cases for common self-service banking applications. I'll go on it fast. So in this screen, we can see the policy that we configure. Let's minimize it to only RBAC configuration, the most simple one. So we have the account beneficiary, account member, and account owner, and each of them has different permissions on some resources on our system. So we have wire, we have saving plan, we have a transaction, and this is the policy that we configure. This is the rule. So a user that assign role in a tenant with the account beneficiary role will be able to add members and read the account, but not to add beneficiary, for example. So this is the first component that we actually want to test, the policy component. The second component that we want to test, if we are talking about unit test, is the actual users that we have in our system. Here we have a lot of users that created. Some of them has resources assigned on tenants. They also have instance access to a very particular roles here. And we also have the enforcement or the audit log, the actual enforcement that we are enforcing. We can see that we check for the Gabriel at Permit.io. We check if they can list transaction in their own tenant, in the tenant of Gabriel at Permit.io, and that was permitted. And we also see some enforcement that was denied. So that's the three minimized, most unique components that we want to test when we are testing our authorization. And the unit test is probably the most easiest part here. We can test our code and mock the other components. So for example, if we want to test if the enforcement work well, we can mock the situation, the result of the enforcement. We can check if what happened if it's true, what happened if it's false. And then we can probably run test on our component. But what happened if we want to go with more in-depth test in our infrastructure? So let's talk about end-to-end test. What if we want to create tests that check that our policy is configured in the way that we want to see that, and it also check that if we have data for all our edge cases, for all our policy rule, it will pass, and if something changed, we want to fail our test. And if we are looking on Permit is an external system, so you want to end-to-end your policy configuration, but not necessarily with your system. So let's see how the CLI can, help us with end-to-end tests on our system. So I'll open a new project here just for the sake of the configuration. I will create a new environment. I'll call it E2E, and I'll create the environment. And from now on, we'll go to work with the CLI, because this is why we're here today. Let me change the screen that I am sharing with the terminal window of my computer. Yeah, you can see now the terminal. Same as every day, I will enlarge the text here, so it will be crystal clear for everyone, even people who watch us from phone. And I'll check that you can see the commands with the QR code there. I remind you, this QR code is our GitHub repository where you can start the repository and get the Raffle on our keyboard. And with that, I'll go back and I'll install the CLI. Every day I'm installing again the CLI just to show you how easy it is to get it up and running in your environment. Permit.io CLI. I am installing it via the NPM, the Node Package Manager, but the CLI is agnostic to language. You can work with it even if you're working with the Permit Go SDK or Python SDK or whatever SDK you work. The CLI is also for you. It's just running on Node.js, but it's all for you. Let me perform permit logout because I think my previous installation was logged into somewhere else. And now I'll run permit login. I want to log into my environment. But first, I want to change the directory and to end-to-end test. I want to create an end-to-end project. And this is where I'll actually run all my tests. Oops, why is that exist? Oh, okay, cd E2E. And now I'm in this folder and I'm running permit test generate E2E. And I'll start with running it with dry run, and I'll save and I'll just run the dry run. And when I run it, now I'm logging into my new environment. You remember it's the launch day 3, the end to end. I am on dry run mode, and there is no roles assigned. Why there is no roles assigned? Because I have no policies on my environment. So I'll apply policy to my environment, and I can actually run. Let's run it on a different environment that I already have some policy on it. And I would go again with let's go with the banking demo. I think the banking demo is a good one to try think of it. So I'll do again the permit env select to select the environment of me in permit. And I'll go to permit.io test and to the banking demo app, and then to the development environment, which is where I have my actual data. And I'll run again the permit test generate E2E, generate end-to-end test, dry run. When I run it, the command will take a look on all my environment and will actually export me a file here. This file includes all the configuration of the test, but let's make it look even better. Let me now run it without the dry run, and I want, for example, to create end-to-end test with Vitest, a very popular JavaScript testing library. I'll run it with the snippet Vitest, and now when it will run, I will be able to see the export. It's exporting me a Vitest test that actually can that can run end-to-end test on all my policy. Let me cat a new file. I'll call it test.js. And what happened here? Touch, sorry, it's not cat, touch test.js. I'm creating a file, and now I'll also open it in let's open it in Nano, so it will all stay in the here, and I'm pasting here the JavaScript code that I actually got from the command. Let's see what this JavaScript code do. So we have here the Vitest, of course, the library, we have file system, and here we have a JSON path. The JSON path is to auth the test JSON. Soon we'll get into that file and see what is it included. And that goes to the PDP that I'm running here, it including my token. This is a whole file that can perform end-to-end test on all the edge cases, edge cases that I configure in my permit environment. Let's see how is that of the JSON file looks like. You see here, I'm having the code of the test. It actually open in Visual Studio Code. So let me change the screen so you can see that in the Visual Studio. It is actually here. I hope you can see the screen. Oh, I see that you don't see the screen here. Let me stop sharing and share it again. I hope you'll be able to see it now. Yeah. So if we're looking on this file contains the configuration of all the possible check function, of all the possible decision that available in our system. And it also, the test end-to-end also created us special users that are actually part of our authorization system. And this configuration is something that is accessible via the test JSON. Let's open the test.js in the end-to-end. Let me open it, code test.js. If you look at this file, you'll be able to see that this file is actually taking all the configuration that we have here, and it will run in a simple for loop on all the check functions, and it will run it and actually create everything needed. Let's do a simple check. I actually haven't tested it yet, but I'm sure that works. I'll run npm init. I'll give it all the test, and I'll do it from the terminal. So I'll open the terminal in the Visual Studio Code. If the text is too small, just let me know in the comments. I think today I'm on a smaller screen, so I think the test is enough. And I'm going to end, and I do npm I dev vitest. This vitest will install the vitest on my local environment, and I'll also open the package.json so I can add the commander code. Sorry, code package.json. Okay, so now we have here this one, and test is actually, script test is actually vitest test. Let's happen what happened if I'll try to run it now. It will probably not get to the PDP because we are not running the PDP locally, but let's do just npm run test, and the vitest work. You couldn't find the file, you need to change the pattern. Okay, I think I can understand what happened here. I need to set up better the project to make it work. But this file is something that I can run on my environment, and it will take the auth.json. You see the auth.json from here, and will run all the tests against the configuration here. So with this command, we actually available to run it from our CI or run it from our local environment, and this command will generate us the end-to-end test. So if we'll go to the policy, or if some data will change in our system in a way that affect the policy decision, we'll be able to compare between the result of the old environment or the old configuration and the new environment. So the permit generate E2E, permit test generate E2E is actually the command that really can help you with testing end-to-end test from policy, data, and enforcement together, all with generated data. So the command is iterating all the policy rules available in permit. Every checkbox that you see in the policy table is iterating that and create a special configuration to this command. As always, this documentation is available in the README of the CLI, and you can go there and actually check how the command work and how you can utilize it yourself. So this is about the end-to-end test. I think this feature is super critical for people who are running permit in production and want to make sure that every change in permit or every change in data that can hurt the policy is actually tested and work in the CI. And I think the CLI is the best way we can enable user for that. So with the understanding of the end-to-end system, I want to move into the next step of policy testing, which is integration test. With integration test, we actually testing the integration of permit with other systems. What is the best way to actually check permit, how it integrated with other system? So let's get back to our policy test environment. But before I'm diving into that, I would like to say that to remind you that we see all your comments, no matter if you are no matter if you are actually using okay, I got my a short brain feed. Okay, no matter if you are using Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, we see all your comments, and these comments appear to me, and I can comment to them. So if you have any question, response, or thing you want to share, just drop your comment. I'll see that and I'll react in real time. And now let's talk about the end-to-end test. The end-to-end test is the integration test, the test that our integration works well on all the system that we have in all the application. In Permit, if you're familiar with that, you have a very detailed audit log of every decision that happened in the system. Let's take a look on this one, for example. So we have a decision that Gabriel is allowed to list transaction. Of course, this transaction is in a specific tenant. Gabriel is not allowed to list transactions anywhere. And this audit log is also for more detailed decisions. For example, here we can see unsafe owners that tried to do large transaction, and they're of course not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to create large transaction. They need to strengthen their authentication beforehand, etc., etc. And this audit log is the mirror, is the picture of how our system integrated with other system. Our permit authorization integrated with everything around that. And we really want to be eligible to get the availability to run all our integration tests with these audit logs, because this audit logs is actually the core of our system. And this is where the permit audit log test get into the picture. So let's go back to the terminal to run the CLI. I'll go back to my homepage, and I'll remove now the end-to-end test. I don't think we need this folder anymore. And we are logging in. Let's see what environment we are logging into. So we are logging to the banking demo app development. This is the one that we want to be logged into. And let's take a look on the permit run audit command. So I'll run the permit test audit run audit, sorry. And I'll start with help. Let's understand what this function is gave to us. So first one is, of course, the API key. Here we don't need it because we actually have one. And then there is the PDP URL. The PDP URL is actually the policy decision point, the authorization microservice that we have, where it's run, where we want to test that. Think about the audit log as a replay of all the decisions that happen in your system for last time frame. And this is where the time frame came from. So we want to say like, test all the audit log from the last 6 hours. Test all the audit logs from all the decision log for the last 72 hours. And this is also some filtering that we can append to that. So for example, if you want to run integration test only on test users, so you want every 24 hours, run a test job that tests specific users, we can do this one too. And we have also source PDP. We can filter it by the particular microservice that run the decision. And we can, for example, have the filter it only by decision that was allowed or denied. We want to limit the number of logs because in a real system, you can have millions of logs in a day with the scale that permits support. But for now, since I'm working on a simple environment, let's do the first thing and let's run the permit PDP on my local machine. So I'll use also the permit CLI for that, permit PDP run. This command will run as the local microservice, the permit microservice. It starts the Docker container, and now we have the Docker container that run, and we can test the audit against it. Let's run here the permit audit. I run the permit run audit, and what will happen now, the command will fetch all the audit logs. So if you remember what we looked earlier, I see a question here. I'll answer it in a second. If we'll go back to the audit log, we can see a lot of audit logs here. And this is actually, can you see the screen? Because somehow in the live stream seems like it's stopped or something like that. Let me go back to the terminal. And here we can see that we have a lot of differences. We have 29 differences between the audit log that I saw before and the audit log that I see now. And the reason for that is that I did some changes in the policy when I actually use the environment before taking it. And now we can see all the changes that happened in the last 24 hours in my environment. And of course, if I'll run it now, only on the last sometime, let's say on the last 29 audit logs, it will just mean that there is no different. But these audit logs compare all the tests from the last time frame that you give them, and compare that, and you get a very nice output on what a user are allowed to see and what a user is not allowed to see. I see a question in the end-to-end test creates any report in HTML or something that can be uploaded to a bucket for historical data. so the end-to-end test, our end-to-end test, our side on the end-to-end test is not the snippet. Our side in the end-to-end test is actually to show you the configuration of all the check function, and that of course a export a JSON file with all the available edge cases. So if something changed actually in the policy, you can see that in the JSON. In the snippet that I show, so I choose the Vitest. I think that's a great idea to also add an output with the differences and not just fail the test with the differences. But again, it's just a snippet. It's something that you can scale. It's something that you can write the output as you want it. What we are doing with the generate end-to-end, we are generating the data that is relevant for all the end-to-end test cases. And we are also generating the snippet for you to test it. The command without the dry run is actually also generating all the users that needed with the relevant roles that are needed for all the edge cases. So it's not test the integration with your system, it tests end-to-end all the policy. And again, the output is a JSON of all the check function configuration, plus the users for all the edge cases, and the snippet that you can run. With the snippet, you can scale it for a nice HTML or historical data, or you can compare it yourself, etc., etc. That's the idea behind that. So that was the end-to-end and the integration test. And before wrapping up, I'll remind you again that by the end of the live stream, we'll go to the GitHub repository and take all the people who star our repository today, and we'll do the raffle between them. Same as yesterday, after every raffle, we are asking people to, if they are featured in the live stream, so after a name comes up, we are asking if you are in the live stream now, and if not, we are continue. By the third name, we stop asking and we just contact the person who won. But I hope you all just stay on the live stream. So to wrap up what we had today, we talked about policy testing, and we show how the CLI can enable you to create end-to-end test and integration test using the features that generates the user relevant and all the edge cases that are actually relevant for all the users. And I think that really could be really helpful for people who are looking to take their permit configuration into production and into scalable system, and really helpful for everyone who want integrate fine-grained authorization in a way that is actually works in scale and works in production. And with that, and again, if you have any kind of questions, I am here to answer. I'm seeing all the comments that you're lefting, and I'll try to do my best to answer it in time. And in the meantime, while I'm actually waiting for more question, if you have some, I will paste all the new names from today that are actually star us on GitHub to put you on the raffle. I'll say that if you haven't do it yet, you have another 30 minutes until I will enable the raffle here. And with that, I'm copying the names, I'm putting it in my Wheel of Names website, which is where I'm doing the raffle. I really like this website. It looks well, and it's kind of random, as much as computer can be random. And here I mostly finish pasting all the names. And let's see if there is any last name here that I haven't copied. Yes. Thanks, Ayush, for being the last one to copy. And I'm adding you to the raffle. And with that, I'm sharing the screen where I have my wheel of names. And let's do the raffle. So I'm doing the first one. Let's see who will win. And then I'm reminding you, if you won and you are watching us active, the first two names we're giving to people who are actually watching us. So Kish or eggs, if you are I hope that I pronounce it in the way you meant to pronounce it. Sometimes nicknames do not pronounce well when you're not able to pronounce them. Thank you, Mariana. I'm happy that I answered your question. And I'm reminding you that we are always available in our Slack community, io.permit.io/Slack is where you can find us. I'll put the Slack community in the QR code. So if you want to get any support, this is where we are. It seems like Kishore Eggs is not here, so I'll remove it from the list and I'll put the wheel again, the Raffle. Again, if you are here, you have 30 seconds to comment with your name. Ayush, the last one who signed up, so you're probably here. Ayush, if you're here, and if Ayush is your name, just the way it makes sense to me to split the username. So Ayush, if you're here, no matter if you are on YouTube or Twitter, just comment your name so we know you're here. And you are the happy winner. Oh, Ayush is here. Great. So we have a winner who is also present today. Congratulations, Ayush. Please contact me at gabriel@permit.io with your address and we'll handle the keyboard for you. Gabriel@permit.io. You can, of course, also find me in the Slack community if you prefer. With that, I really want to thank for everyone who joined us today. Tomorrow, we have another day of the Permit CLI launch week. And tomorrow, we are going to talk about API-driven authorization. We are going to show how to configure your authorization in Permit using your API endpoint and API configuration. Many users get their APIs to drive the way they are getting authorization decision. And I think the features that we are enabling in the CLI and launching tomorrow would enable a lot of users to create everything needed that is driven by API. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow.